Madame Adama, the woman who by no means went to parties for music or dancing, most effective for food. She laughed and said, "Life is short, so chop your very own earlier than existence chops you." Till the day she licked her hands clean from a dish intended for spirits. Madame Adama, a woman with a round stomach and an ever-present smile, elegant and energetic, turned into usually the first face you noticed while you stepped into any birthday party hall. Her wrapper became always the brightest, her head tie the tallest, and her plate changed into usually the heaviest. People whispered that Madame Adama never went to parties for track or dancing. She went for food. She lived in Abuja, in a flat that smelled of fried stew each morning. Her neighbors have been used to seeing her sit down in the front of her residence with a large bowl, fanning herself between mouthfuls of ifo-riro, amala, or steaming jollof rice. She appreciated to say, "Meals is pleasure, and me, I love joy." At weddings, birthdays, or funerals, you can believe Madame Adama to embarrass the caterers. Even as different guests covered up with 1 spoon of rice and 2 pieces of meat, Madame Adama piled mountain upon mountain of jollof, fried rice, ogbono soup, goat meat, peppered fish, moi, and nonetheless called the servers again for soup to pour on pinnacle. Madame Adama, don't come once more. Even though humans would murmur with half of laughter, half of pity, some widespread her boldness. In spite of everything, she never pretended. She ate with each fingers, humming luckily as if the music became in her food. But others shook their heads and muttered, "This woman no get shame." Madame Adama failed to care. She usually stated, "Existence is short, my human beings. Chop your very own earlier than existence chops you." One Saturday morning, the compound became alive with pleasure. A wealthy politician became throwing a celebration, the kind of birthday celebration in which cash sprayed like water and meals flowed like River Niger. With the aid of midday, Madame Adama had dressed herself in a glittering gold lace, tied a tall wine-colored gel, and powdered her spherical face until it shone. Her daughter, Amara, sighed as she watched her mother respect herself within the mirror. "Mummy, please attempt to behave small today. Do not shame us." Madame Adama laughed so tough her belly shook. "Shame, Amara. You don't know something. Food is love. And whilst you get meals, you eat it. Who go beat me?" By using 2 p.m., she had arrived at the grand hall. The vicinity glittered with chandeliers. Drums rolled with stay band tune, and the aroma of suya and pepper soup stuffed the air. Visitors in glowing lace danced and cheered as cash rained on the floor. However, Madame Adama's eyes did not determine the musicians or the dancers. No, her eyes locked on the buffet table. The long stretch of meals was like heaven itself. Shining trays of jollof, fried rice, ogbono soup, efo, okra, goat meat, chicken, fish, pepper soup, effervescent hot, and soft pounded yam rolling in steam. Madame Adama licked her lips. This became her battlefield. "Nowadays," she whispered to herself with a smile, "I can chop till I drop." The corridor shook with laughter, track, and the clinking of plates. Madame Adama moved like a queen a number of the crowd, her gel towering like a crown. People parted when they noticed her coming, a few out of respect, a few to keep away from being pushed aside on her venture. The buffet became long, the type that stretched like a small avenue. Servers in white shirts and purple caps struggled to maintain up as visitors piled meals. However, when Madame Adama arrived, their faces tightened. They knew her nicely. "Ah, Madame Adama," one of the servers greeted nervously. "How are you? What am I able to serve you?" Madame Adama widened her smile. "My son, Habib, simply percent the whole thing. No be small component, massive large meat. If rice no attain mountain, no putum." The young man swallowed hard but obeyed. He filled one plate, then another, until Madame Adama balanced 3 steaming plates in the front of her. She carried them like trophies, waddling proudly to her seat. The humans around whispered and giggled. "CM," a girl muttered to her pal. "Narrowly, Madame Adama fit shame person like this. How can one character devour like military? Her buddy chuckled. Depart her. One day meals past display her pepper. However, Madame Adama did not hear, and even if she did, she wouldn't care. She dug into her meals, buzzing along to the band. Grease shone on her lips, and pepper soup broth dripped down her chin as she tore into the beef with each hands. She became in her world. Then it took place. The various dishes at the some distance cease of the desk, hidden among a tray of peppered goat meat and ogbono soup, changed into a covered calabash bowl. It wasn't supposed for visitors. It had been placed there mistakenly by using a clumsy attendant. Inside become meals organized specially for the politician, a ritual dish blessed for safety and electricity. It was by no means speculated to touch normal hands. But whilst Madame Adama again for spherical too, her greedy eyes stuck the bowl. She failed to ask questions. She lifted the lid, inhaled the rich aroma, and without hesitation scooped a full element onto her plate. The servers iced up. "Ah, madam. No, contact that one," one shouted. But Madame Adama handiest laughed, shaking her fleshy arms as she walked away. Food is meals. She sat down and wolfed the sacred dish with speed. By the time the servers rushed to give an explanation for, it turned into 2 past due. Madame Adama had licked her palms smooth, smacked her lips, and leaned back with pride. "Fine meals of the day," she declared loudly, her voice carrying over the song. "Whoever cooked this one, God bless your hand." However, because the hall roared with laughter and track, an abnormal silence appeared to follow Madame Adama. That night, Madame Adama, lower back domestic from the birthday party along with her gel, tilted to one aspect, her wrapper unfastened on the waist, and her eyes half of closed from food and drinks. Her kids carried her shoes and purse, guffawing at how their mother snared in the taxi. "Ah, Mummy, you late today?" Amara teased as they helped her into the residence. Madame Adama waved her off. "Go away me, Habib, now. Entertainment existence. No get reproduction." She collapsed into her huge chair, belly swollen like a drum, and drifted into sleep. But just past nighttime, something peculiar occurred. She awakened all of a sudden, her throat dry, her belly twisting. At the start, she conceived it become normal starvation. She dragged herself to the kitchen, scooped Gary right into a bowl and drank it down with cold water. For a second, remedy came. However, earlier than she ought to return to mattress, the starvation again sharper, deeper, like hearth clawing at her insides. She opened the pot of jollof from the day prior to this and ate directly from it. Nonetheless, her stomach growled. She fried plantains, swallowed them in haste. The starvation grew worse. She boiled yam, licked palm oil, ate bread and butter, even licked the stew pot smooth. Her youngsters, woken by the noise, stood at the door huge-eyed. "Mummy, what's going on?" Amara whispered. "I do not know," Madame Adama snapped, her mouth complete of bread. "My frame day burn me. I must consume. I need to eat." By using sunrise, the kitchen was scattered. Plates damaged, pots empty, bread wrappers on the ground. Madame Adama sat on the floor in tears, her face greasy, her wrapper falling off her shoulders. But she still chewed uncooked rice from the sack like roasted groundnut. Neighbors began to knock, disturbed via the noise. Madame Adama, wedding ceremony day came about. "We no sleep this nighttime," one neighbor referred to as out. But when they peeked through the window, they stepped again in worry. For there has been Madame Adama, eyes red, sweating, consuming uncooked yam along with her naked hands like a wild animal. "Mama Raka craze," one girl whispered. "No," some other answered shakily. "This no craze. This N.A. religious hassle." By means of the second night, the starvation grew worse. Madame Adama raided her neighbor's pot of beans, tore open every other's loaf of bread, and turned into stuck within the compound at 3 a.m., scooping sand into her mouth. Her once loud laughter had become groans of pain inside her belly. It turned into as if something lived, something worrying, something that became never happy. And every so often, whilst the compound grew silent, Amara swore she could pay attention, a voice whispering from her mother's belly, "Greater, deliver greater." By the fourth day, Madame Adama changed into no longer the equal female the compound knew. Her once round, jolly face became sunken. However, her stomach seemed even larger, stretched tight like a calabash. Her eyes glowed faintly inside the darkish, and her lips never stopped moving, chewing whatever her palms may want to find. The compound kids no longer played close to her flat. They whispered, pointing at her window, "Mama Amara de devour sand again."